Welcome back to another episode of Snack Bites and Reviews with your boy DJ Fastnacks here. Just want to let you guys know I do this probably each and every week. Occasionally I will go ahead and do one show or one movie per video, but in this particular case, and even with the one I did a couple weeks ago, I'm actually adding a couple shows together to make one video. Depending on how good the episode and the show is, I might give it its own episode. But as of right now, I'll go ahead and lump them all together. And, I'll pick a few shows. I'm not going to make it as big as the last one was, because that was 7 movies, a month and a half's worth of movies that came out. So this time around, instead of doing movies, we're going to do TV shows today. And 3 particular: Superman and Lois, Secret Invasion, and Walking Dead, Dead City. So first up, I'm going to go ahead and talk about the season finale of Superman and Lois. So just to give you some background insight, I love this show, season 1, 2, and even the third one, which is this one. And so the only thing I didn't like about this particular season compared to the first 2 seasons is the fact that it was a Superman and Lois like comic book show and not really a drama. They had its drama moments. They had the CW drama moments throughout the shows on each of the seasons before, but in this one they went real heavy. But because we have some of the great actors that we have in this season, it kind of played off pretty good. So I don't consider this season in particular a Superman, superhero type show per se. It has elements, but it wasn't really a superhero show. As much as I can say. As far as this last episode, though, it definitely was a superhero show. But just to go ahead and knock some stuff out, because I know maybe people are new to this channel. I have not reviewed the seasons before, or even any of the episodes before the season finale, but I did want to talk about it. This season we got a couple of new characters. We got a cast member change, which is one of the sons. That was kind of weird. I thought it was going to be jarring when it came on. He looked kind of like the other guy, and he looked more like he belonged as a twin with the other brother. So I was like, okay, that didn't take me out of the show as much. Who else was it? We got more of Natalie and her dad, and Lois's dad as well, the Colonel. Trying to think of who else. What else is in this season? A lot of twists and turns. We got the Manheims and his family, and just the things around it. We got a Lex Luthor, a new type of Lex Luthor. We'll talk about that too as well. But with this episode, it starts off, the last episode ends with us finding out that Lex Luthor was framed for some murders that he did almost 2 decades ago. And Lois was the one that helped him get put in jail. So once you find that out and he gets out, he comes and he threatens Lois and Superman. He literally threatens Lois and her family, and then he tells her to tell Superman he's next. And then he leaves. He literally leaves. He leaves the jail, walks to the farm, and tells them both that he's coming for them. And then nobody sees him no more at all. So at the end of the last episode, he shows up, and like I said, you have to watch the show to kind of catch some of the stuff. I hope most people are caught up. But last season we got a Bizarro Superman. He ended up dying supposedly, and Mannheim. I think it was Mannheim. Yeah, I'm tripping. Might be tripping. Yeah, they got his body from the DOD, and basically they were doing tests on him to try to find a cure for cancer. That's literally what it was. But it changed him. It brought him back to life, and he was a beast. So when everything went down, Lex Luthor shows up, and he finds this Superman who looks like a zombie and is eating rats because I guess he needs flesh. So that's why I would say he looks like a zombie. Plus his face just looks like he's just been dead for whatever, which has been a while. So Lex decides on this episode. Now we're into the last of the season finale. So the guy that Lex was with gets attacked. So you thinking that Lex dies. They do a time jump of a month and 3 days. 33 days. Well, not a month and 3 days. More than a month and 2 days or 1 day, depending on what month it is. But they jump ahead 33 days. And everybody's wondering, where the hell is Lex? Nobody has seen him since he got out of jail. Lois is freaking out because, you know, he threatened them. So she just knows he's going to come out of nowhere and just murder them. And so she's, you know, she's freaking out. The son who had Superboy, he has the powers. He's mad about how people are treating him about having his powers. Superman is mad at his son because of the fact that they told him to just stay hidden and just help out and not let anybody see him. But then he goes out and he defies his dad and goes out and allows the public to take pictures of him, but with the mask on. So now everybody's looking for him. And, you know, now they punished him. I don't know how you punish a Superboy, but, you know, whatever. So this is all the stuff that's going on. You have this whole thing. And so they just telling you how the life is. They have all these story plots. And coming up to this episode, a lot of information about the next season came out. Seeing the fact that first we are getting another season, that's already amazing in its own. Because everybody thought it was going to get canceled because CW is being bought out by another company. Well, has been bought out by another company. And they've been canceling everything CW, especially the DC shows. So we didn't think they were getting another season. With them getting another season, a lot of changes is happening. They're cutting more than half of the cast out. So I would like to tell you about Lana and her whole debacle with her ex-husband having his new girlfriend, pregnant. But it might not even matter because next season, they're not in the show. They're not even going to be in the season next season. Maybe one or two, maybe one episode at most. But they're not putting any of the extra characters in there. They already said that they're not main characters anymore. So like you don't even get closure. It's just like a big plot hole that opens up that we're probably not gonna get closed up next season. Let's see. That was there. Her father is missing because Lex took him, and all this stuff is going on. So what Lex was doing when he found the Superman, the other Superman, the Bizarro Superman, because that's who it was. He started killing him over and over and over because he found out that if he kills him, he just gets stronger. And if you know what that means for the next villain, it's clear. That's Doomsday. That's one thing I hate about it. Why did they make Bizarro, which is a Superman villain / friend, into Doomsday, which is a Superman villain? Why couldn't... It's the same thing they did in the Snyderverse. Like, why can't Doomsday just be his own, you know, just a Kryptonian person or thing that was made to kill Superman? Why does he have to be part of something else that was already in lore? So basically he kills this guy for the 33 days. He's killing this guy over and over. He convinces this guy, hey, let me do this and you'll be stronger and nobody will be able to stop you. And because he was out of his mind, he was like, okay, cool, I'm going to let you do it. So he continuously let Lex kill him until he became roided out Doomsday. So all this stupid drama is going on. Lex is enacting his plan. Everybody's trying to find out what's going on. They look for Lex because they were trying to find Lois's dad. And Lex shows up to the farm and puts in... And let it be known that he's at the farm. So Superman shows up and says, you know, what's going on? Why are you here? Where is, you know, Colonel Lane or whatever? And he was like, oh, no, don't worry about him. You need to worry about yourself. He's like, what? He's like, because I got somebody who wants to talk to you. And he turns on the Superman signal thing, and it signals the Doomsday thing, and it comes and flies. One thing I will say that I like about it and I hate about the Doomsday overall character in this fight is they allowed Doomsday to fly because he was initially Superman on another Earth. I'm cool with that because it looked actually pretty good instead of him trying to jump around like the Hulk. But he looked like Nemesis from Resident Evil. And Superman was trying to hold his own, but he was beating the crap out of him. Like Doomsday had him. Like it was not too much Superman could do. And what I hated about this season, and I'm mad, I'm glad that we're getting a new season. But I would have definitely been mad if they would have canceled this show after this season finale. Because literally it left us on a cliffhanger where they fight so bad that stuff is getting destroyed. They're going to different areas. You know, they did a whole little dramatic moment like how they did with Clark's dad in Man of Steel when he told him not to mess with the tornado. Superman does that same thing to tell his family not to run to him. Stay back so you can fight Doomsday. So I'm hoping they're not trying to set up for the death of Superman, but it could be. So they fight, and I'm talking about they toe and toe. Like they doing all type of stuff. Superman freezes him, takes him to space, all type of stuff. But Doomsday, you know, like he kills Doomsday in a way where he throws him on a building which was like had like a spike at the end of it. But Doomsday basically wakes back up and comes back to life, and he flies off of the building, which is cool. He like instead of, you know, how most people just pull themselves out, he broke the top and he flies up out of it. That was cool. So like I said, big battle. And then when it was getting ready to get to the climax and you see both of them running towards each other like they just about to mess some stuff up, it goes off and says to be continued for next season. And I'm like, I would have been so pissed if they ended this show. I'm glad we get to see another season of the show. I am wondering how they're going to do without all the different characters and how they're going to explain that, seeing that they didn't take the time at the end of this season to explain where did they go. They gave some little loopholes, but for the most part, they didn't get away. So that's how that ended. I'm ready already for the next season, and that's probably gonna be like one of that and All American is probably gonna be the only things that'll be on CW worth watching next season or the end of this year. But next up, let's talk about Dead City. So I didn't do any reviews on any of this stuff. I've watched the first 3 episodes. And if I'm not mistaken, let me double check this real quick. Because I don't know if it was supposed to be this way. But it seems to be that I may have got an episode early. Because I could have swore I thought this was the second week. This weekend was the second week. But I've already got the 3rd episode. Let me see. Oh, I don't have it on here yet. Shoot. Let's see. I should have added it to my little queue. So they only have. I don't think they episodes. No, get out of here. So what's today? Today is June 30th. Friday is late. So it's Friday. And yeah. The 3rd episode wasn't coming out till the 2nd. Was a Sunday. So I've got the 3rd episode. I've watched the 3rd episode. So if you haven't watched the 3rd episode, I'll give you a time to skip ahead in a minute. But for as far as the first 2 episodes, matter of fact, I'm not going to talk about the 3rd episode. Well, yeah, I am going to talk about the 3rd episode. So like the first episode basically shows Maggie in this different part of the world. You don't know where she is. She looks like she's like desperate for help, and things are happening. So we're like, okay, hold on. What is she? You know, last time we seen her, she was going back to Hilltop, and you know that's where she continued to start her thing. You know, rebuild Hilltop. So that's the last time we see her. She didn't stay with the Commonwealth people. So yeah, so we see her, you know, just tripping. She's trying to struggle to get away from the zombie. She kills the zombie, and then she goes into this town where this hotel is. And there's people who actually, you know, renting out rooms, so far, blah, blah, blah. She's looking for somebody. And you're like, who's she look for? Clearly because you know who the show is about, because the show is about, if you don't know, it's The Walking Dead Dead City. It's the show about Maggie and Negan. Quick, straight through to the point. Maggie and Negan. So she's looking for Negan. And then they set it up to where you thinking she's trying to kill him. Try to find him to kill him. But come to find out, some weirdo guy found there a new development that she was making, a new town that she had built over the years. I don't because we don't know how far into the future from the last episode is this show. So she makes another town, another little area of people, because apparently Hilltop wasn't salvageable. I think, and and so she had to go find something else for her people to be. So she found another development for them. So she's looking for him because this guy ran up on their new development and like basically killed some people and took her son. The guy just so happened to be somebody who ran with Negan back in the day before the whole thing with Rick and all that stuff happened. So they kind of set it up. It was pretty good. It got straight to the point. It wasn't no laggy. It's only 6 episodes in this season, so I can kind of see where it's like a fast pace to it. I mean, I kind of don't want to sit around too much because sometimes you got some good episodes of The Walking Dead, and sometimes you got some slow paced episodes. Like, why did I even watch that for an hour? There was no need for it. So far in the 3 episodes I did watch, pretty nice pace. The 3rd episode I would probably say would be one of those episodes, but it still gave some good information and some good development of characters. So like I said, she finds him. He has a girl with him. So if you remember from the final season of Walking Dead, when they ended, Negan had a wife who was pregnant. So she asked him like, what's going on with your wife? Why are you running around? And he was like, don't worry about it. It's just craziness going on or whatever. So now you're thinking, okay, did he mess up and she broke up with him? Did somebody kill them? Did somebody kidnap them? Like, what's going on? So she was looking for him. She went to find him. The people at the hotel knew something. Well, it was a bar that she went looking for him. And they tried to attack Maggie because she was looking for Negan. And they tried to get her and kill her, but she ended up like messing some people up and hurting them. And then she got out of town because she seen Negan because he ran up on her and realized that she was chasing, so he ran away. So she chased them, met up with them, and, basically stopped them in the road, and they talked. This is where they had their little talk at. So with the talk, like I said, you find out that he's not with his wife anymore. This girl is just a girl from where he was at one point. You also find out that Negan is being hunted by some sheriffs from a new city. I forget the name of the city, but it's a new city that actually has a sheriff, and Negan probably was there in that city, and something happened. They say he killed somebody. They even have the situations of what he did to Maggie and them way back when. So my mom was like, how do they have so much information on this guy or whatever? So they do all that stuff. They're looking for him too. And so when the guy shows up to the bar, because like the sheriff shows up to the bar, and they try to keep everything quiet because they ain't want nobody to know what's going on. Maggie and Negan, they gone already. So the sheriff is trying to find out some stuff. He basically kills one of the people to get some information and tells everybody else that if you deal with it this way, this is what happens. You don't want to get in our way. So then he goes. Somebody tells him what they were driving and so forth or whatever like that. So he goes to chase him off. He chased him. So the big plan was this guy is held up in New York City, but all the bridges are cut. So the only way into the city is if you take some type of boat, ferry, or whatever across the river into the city. So that's one of the worst places to go since the thing even happened. The fact that there was no bridges, meaning that the zombies that are still alive are still in there, just roaming. And it's New York City, so there's a lot of people. I like how when they got to the river, they show the city in the background. It looks so ominous. Like, people are there, and the zombies are there, but it's quiet, and it's just empty. It's dark, and it looks good. I like the cinematography for this movie. And the first episode, they basically give more information saying we need to go there. But before they got there, she asked Negan, can he help her? Even though she still hates this man, which I don't blame her. But she asked him to help her, and he said, look, I'll help you for one condition. If you find old girl somewhere to stay. So then she called her people and take old girl with her. Boom. So girl goes off. So they go into the city. You see more stuff about this guy. You see how ruthless this other guy is. And like I said, you also find out that he was, again, like I said, part of Negan's original crew. What happened was he was a good guy. Negan liked to use him because of how ruthless he was. But then it was something where Negan told him not to mess people up, or not to do something, not to kill this person, because it just clearly looks like a little child, like a girl who was a young girl who was just passing by. But he didn't want to believe it. So what he did was basically kill her and torture her. And Negan realized then that he needed to get rid of this guy. So he went to kill him, but he missed. Ended up shooting his ear off. So Negan, that was the whole backstory there. So him and Maggie are just walking through this city. They go to this part of the town, and when they get into the city, the things that they had done that you wouldn't think about because of how The Walking Dead has been in regular towns, not really too many places with skyscrapers. Some city like Atlanta, some places they had it, but they really didn't utilize like that, because even though Atlanta has skyscrapers and stuff, not like New York City. So they were just walking nighttime, barely making any noise. They did something, I think they hit something, and the zombies realized that they were there, and they started falling out of windows or off the top of the buildings because they knew somebody was there. So the buildings were so high, all you just seeing is the zombies jumping to their deaths. And it's so crazy how they did that, because it's like it was raining zombies. That is dope. I was like, this shit is crazy. It is crazy. So after they did all that, they walked through. They try to get away from some of the people, because people were corralling the zombies, I think, to their front of their compound. I'm assuming that's where they were corralling them, or they were moving them out of the way. So they was using something to make the noise so they could follow them and kind of corral them away or something. And so they were like in the alley. And here's a scene that was so crazy in episode 2. Episode 2 is a scene where they were hiding from the zombies because the people were corralling them. And the zombies were supposed to follow him, but some saw that they were in this little alley. So they was hiding behind these boxes and these trash bags at the end of the alley. And so, they all cried like, shh, be quiet. And then you just watch as first you see a roach on Negan's shoulder, and you're like, okay. And then you see, like, it was a guy who was with them, because they caught one of the sheriff's guys, because there was 3 guys with the sheriff. So they caught one of them to bring him into the city to use him as a hostage. So he was with him too. But he had a roach on his head, and he was like, oh, hell nah. Knock it off. And then Maggie had one like on her face, and she's like, oh, hell nah. So then also they noticed that the roaches was getting more plentiful. And I ain't talking about no little German cockroach. We talking about water bug cockroaches that was they're on them, crawling on them and everything. So they was like, what in the world? And they just start getting more and more. And so then they moved back, and one of the bags fell off, and all you see is this sea of cockroaches just disperse and run away. The funniest line of the whole episode was Negan, oh, hell nah, not today. He runs off and he goes to fight the zombies and try to find a way into when they're in the alley, they try to find a way into one of the buildings to get away. And so that's where the sheriff followed them into the same building as well with his friend. So when they get in there, they go to hide because the sheriff comes in and he's like, I know you're hiding here. I know you have my guy. Just come on out. We could talk about this, blah, 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 blah. But we already knew because of what he did in the bar that he was kind of ruthless. So they didn't want to give him up. And they told him not to say nothing, and they were being quiet. So they locked the door to try to stop the walkers from walking in behind him. So he told one of the guy he was with, to stay at the door and guard the door. So he goes to try to find him. He gets the jump on Maggie. Maggie tries to beat him up. And then Maggie I think Maggie got the jump on him, matter of fact. And then Maggie was about to kill him. And basically, he tells how he's a dad and he has 3 children and they love him so much, his wife, and they waiting for him to come back and all this stuff. Don't kill him. So she knocks him out. So like, one of the things I like in episode 2, that was episode 2. One of the things I like about episode 2 was the fact that they had these deep talks because even though with all this stuff going on, you still had an animosity between, Maggie and Negan, because he killed. Spoiler alert: he killed her husband. You know what I'm saying? So like this animosity has been going on even in the last season. It has been going on. So he had to like put her in her place and understood at the same time why she still feels a way, but he had to let her know like, look, you want me to help you, and I'm trying to change. I've been locked up. I haven't changed. I've helped you guys so many times since then. I don't want to start trouble. I don't even want to have my whole situation back no more. I'm just trying to relax. I'm trying to repent for, I'm trying to do all I can do to at least get some type of, favor to you from, just to try to get away from the stigma of what I have and what I've done. And so, she wasn't having it. And I think he said something. He was like, how many fathers, sons, and daughters have you killed? And it made her think about it. And so that's why when the guy said what he said, she let him go. But she knocked him in the head, and then they left. So they get to a little area. Episode 2 ends with this weird lady coming out of nowhere, and they don't have no light in the room they're in, so they light a match. Negan lights a match, and the weird lady shows up out of nowhere and blows the match out and steals their stuff. That's how episode 2 ends. Now, if you are not one of the lucky people like me to have seen episode 3, this is where you want to cut out and probably go into the part where I'll start talking about the next topic. But if you have seen it, this is season 3, episode 3 of the Dead City. So it starts off with them finding out where this lady went. She's climbing up a ladder. They chase her, and instead of it seems like somebody's trying to attack them and just run away with their stuff, she's trying to lead them somewhere for help, basically. And she leads them to her little community that she has. And when they got to a specific point, the community just didn't like what was going on, and they didn't trust them. So you had to go through the whole thing of trust us, blah 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 blah, all this stuff like this, right? So they get past this, you can trust us, blah blah blah, and so then they come up with this plan. They tell them the plan, because first they captured them because they didn't believe what they were trying to do. They captured them, put them into this thing. So what made them trust them was apparently the people found out where their little compound was, so they all had to run out of there and get out of there. So they get out of there and they do their things, and in the midst of all this, Negan is trying to convince these people that they're on their side. So then they gave them their weapons back because they believed them, and so Negan kind of helped everybody get to where they needed to go. But then one guy ended up they end up getting attacked again. And when the lady who brought them to that compound, she was trying to get away. Somebody caught her, and they was holding her like at knife point. And Negan was trying to convince the dude to just chill out. Do not do any of that stuff. Leave her alone. She's not gonna hurt you, whatever. And so the guy just said screw it, and he kills her. That was one of the people who was with them. That was I think it was his grandmother or his mother. Forget, I don't know. I never really understood which one it was. I want to say it was his grandmother. Well, I want to say it was his mother. But yeah, so they kill him. So Negan punches him up and keeps him alive. And so Maggie's looking at him like, what is he up to? So he tells everybody to go, get away, I'll take care of this. And Maggie's like, what are you talking about? Hey, we don't even know what the hell we don't need them. Why are we trying to stay back? So Negan goes back into the compound where he knows now it's people coming in, because they got rid of most of the people inside who came in first time, but except that last guy. And so he comes out and he knows that people are coming in. So when they come in, they're looking for everybody. Negan comes out and he basically hits this guy on every panel of this window, like 3 panels, saying knock knock, and nobody said anything. And he was like, knock knock, who's there? And he tells his joke or whatever. So he tells these people that if y'all come back around, he becomes Negan that we know. He goes back into that realm so he can scare these people off. And he tells these people, if you come and you step foot and you mess with any of these people in here, if I see any of you guys near us ever again, I'm going to take you out. And he was like, and right now, I'm going to make it rain. And they was like, what? And he slits the guy's throat and make the blood run all on them. And then he was like, and he said, now I'm going to make a thunderstorm. And he cuts the guts open and throws him all over them. And throws him over the thing. And he's like, next time it's going to be worse if I see y'all face again. And then they kind of get scared and they run off. And then Negan goes off and hide with the other people. So then they do this whole big thing where they still trying to trust Negan and Maggie. And they do like this whole thing with dinner. You see the guy end up catching the sheriff. I keep forgetting his, I don't know why I can't think of the dude's name. But the villain caught the sheriff. And what he did was he basically tortured him for a little bit and told him that he wanted to be a part of the situation, and he didn't want to be a part of the situation. So he like went to go, said, look, I'm gonna be nice. Look at the jail cell unit. It's like a nice little area. I think it was in a stadium, and it was in a box. And so he's like, nice little area. He said, look, this is a good cozy jail cell. And then he went and he made, plans for have dinner, and I think they had some type of meat or whatever. And so with the meat, apparently it was raw. And so when he was trying to explain to the guy to eat, take some food and be a part of the thing, the guy didn't want to do it. And then he looked at his meat and realized it was raw, so he cursed the guy out and was like, why is my food raw? He's like, oh, I don't know, man, it should have been. So he got real mad. He picks up a key and he looks at him and he gives it to him and he tells him to open his mouth. Dude opens his mouth. He puts the key in his mouth and he says, swallow it. Dude swallows it, and then he goes to smash the dude's head over the rail, beat him up, and then throw him over the rail and leaves him there. And so I'm like, why did he make the dude swallow the key? I'm thinking he was going to leave the zombie guy there and the guy had to kill the zombie to get out. Well, I was wrong. I was right, but I was wrong. So we go back to them. They having dinner. Like, we go back to Negan and all them. They're now having dinner at their little place that they found. And they all pray, and you see everybody put out a symbol of somebody who they lost or they love and they miss. And everybody puts a symbol out in front of their plates. So Negan looks and he realizes he puts a piece of paper out, and I want to say that was the wanted poster or whatever. And then I think Maggie put something out. No, I might be wrong. on that one. But I think Maggie put a piece of paper out, but it wasn't that paper. And so he basically, they do all that. They have their little talk. Then we go back to the sheriff and the villain guy talking, and they have him in the jail cell. So they bring him in there. First of all, the villain guy has this whole thing, has these supporters, because they're in the stadium looking like, it looks like it's a boxing ring in the middle. Might be UFC or something. I think it was because it was cage. It was UFC. So, he's getting everybody hype. And so, when you have rotting corpses with the, I forget what you call it, the gas. But basically, they have it hooked up to a tank, and they have the zombies and water in the tank. And so you could breathe the gas in. And I think it's methane. It's something methane, I think it was. And so he made the sheriff guy breathing in, so it got him woozy. And they put him in into the cage, and they handcuffed him around this pole in the middle of the cage. So he was like, okay, cool. The zombie, the guy that he killed with the key in his stomach, they bring him into the ring. So the guy now has to survive with this zombie while he's wrapped around this pole. He's a sheriff, he has some type of fight skills, so he ends up choking this zombie out so hard that he pops the head off. Zombie drops, zombie head still moving, how they go, because you got to destroy the whole head altogether. The guy looks at him and says, well, if you want to get out, you got to use, where the key at. So then he finds something that cuts into, they threw glass into they were throwing glass at him because they was mad because he actually won. And so he had to get one of the broken bottles and cut into this guy's stomach and pull the key out. Pulls the key out, gets free, and they put 2 more zombies in there. And so he goes to reach for one of his boots, and realized that boot has something in it. So then he gets the other boot and he basically uses his boot to kill these two zombies, which is dope. Never, I don't think we've seen anything quite that crazy in Walking Dead yet. I may be wrong because I haven't watched the other two series, so maybe something crazy in those series happened. But yeah. So he kills them and they basically tie him back up and wrap him back up. And so then you go back to Maggie and them and you find out that you see this. Oh, sorry. Let's go back. Another story plot that was happening in this one was the girl that Negan had that they brought to the new place where Maggie and them was at. They set her up, they told her school, all this good stuff. She doesn't talk. So apparently she's just weirded out about just being there, but she wants to be with Negan, apparently, for some oddly reason. And they kind of explain to you why she has such a, like she has such feelings for Negan. And so that's one of the backstory, because they kind of show the backstory too around this. And to tell how she would probably communicate with him, because she doesn't talk. Because he was mad because she got lost and she doesn't talk. So when he was screaming for her name, she wouldn't say nothing. So Negan was pissed off about it because she was looking for some dinosaur, stuffed animal dinosaur or whatever. And I think that's something her dad gave her because she went she went deaf. I'm sorry, not deaf. She went mute after she saw her dad who left and she thought he was coming back. And she ran out there to go find out that he died. And she didn't speak ever since. So that's why she's not talking. And Negan was just trying to convince her, like, you gotta talk. That's the only way I can help you and save you. I can't just, show up or whatever. You gotta talk. And so, sorry. And so, he convinced her and teaches her about this whistle. Do this whistle, and this is where I know if I hear it, I know that you need help, and I'll be on my way. Whatever like that. So this chick, she's so not used to being in this in this situation, she decides that she wants to just leave. And she sneaks out. I don't know what type of security Maggie got going on over there, but this girl easily was able to walk out of the compound. Not only walk out of the compound, steal a moped and drive away. This girl was so smart, she drove all the way to where the lake is that's around New York City so she could cross it. I'm like, okay. Here's the kicker. You ask yourself, it wasn't no boat. How the hell did she get across, right? Why she find a cooler, and I'm talking about a cooler where you put ice and drinks in. She see a cooler, and she decides, I could get across this river in this. And I'm looking to myself, it's like, there's no way. Once you step in it, it's gonna go deeper, and the water's gonna come into it. They show this little girl in this thing, paddling with the board to get across the river to New York. I'm like, yo, there's no way. So she gets out there, and she's just freaking out because zombies. It's daytime now. Zombies are just popping up everywhere. She's trying to run away. She's hiding. She's being quiet. She don't talk, so she's being quiet. And so she trips over and falls, and one is right by her foot and trying to grab her leg. She gets out, but her dinosaur dropped, and she goes to hide. And so then you see this weird lady who's walking, like, she kills some of the zombies. Well, she kills the zombie that was on the ground, and then she picks up the dinosaur, and then she puts it in her thing, and she walks away. And so you just see her, and she's like, okay, how the hell do I get, like, she basically looking like she just lost in the city. So now you go back to, like I said, all the other stuff where now you have Negan, everybody is trying to find out, and that person who we saw who picked up the dinosaur, she shows up, and she's like, everybody's like, oh, hey, what's up? Where have you been? I'm surprised you're back, blah, 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 blah. And so she takes out all the stuff she's gotten over her little travels or whatever. So Maggie sees the dinosaur, and Maggie was like, hey, where'd you get that dinosaur from? She's like, on the street. She's like, but how recent did you find that? She's like, as soon as I got out here. So Maggie was like, and I guess the lady was like, this lady's asking me questions about this dinosaur. I don't really care about it. Here, she can have it. So she gives Maggie the dinosaur. So all while this is going on, Negan is in. I guess they're in the kitchen. I think he's trying to find weapons for tomorrow because they decided to come up with a plan to try to storm the compound and use Negan as bait to get the guy to come out so they could attack him. So like that's why I said that the show's moving fast paced. We're not going through all this other stuff, and so yeah, so like yeah, she basically they basically he's in there looking, and the big guy, I forget the dude's name, but he the one who's always thought like we cannot trust these people. We can't trust these people, and so I guess he found the wanted poster that Negan had, and he was like, yeah, so this means I don't need to trust you. That means I gotta get rid of you. Y'all have to leave. And then Negan was like, look, man, it ain't like that. It's not what you think. And the guy didn't want to, he basically didn't want to give up. He just said, if you keep going, I'm going to kill you. So Negan said, okay, you want to play this game? So they fight. And I don't know if it was because the lighting of the episode. If anybody's seeing this stream and they watch this episode later, comment down below and let me know what it was. But apparently when they start the fight, the guy does his big bear hug attack on Negan and basically tries to squeeze the life out of him. And then Negan gets a cheese grater, I think, and scrapes his face. And then the dude falls back. And it looks like whatever he did kills him. So I don't know if he fell on something. I might have missed it. It looked like he might have fell on something and you just don't see it. But I'm like, I know the cheese grater didn't kill this guy. So Negan goes down and he just I think he squeezes his face to make sure he's alive or dead or whatever. And then Negan's like, oh Lord, I messed up. So then that's how, I think, if I'm not mistaken, that's how it ends. But it was also some more things where Negan tells the story of why they are looking for him. So apparently someone in that town raped his wife. Like his wife went on a thing, and he knows how she is. He knows what time, how often, how fast she comes back and all this stuff. So she says she's going to town to go do something, and he realized it was taking her too long. Then he realized that after a certain amount of time something was wrong. So he went looking for her. He found her, and she was raped, or whatever. She's robbed, and they raped her. Oh, I'd say she was robbed. I ain't gonna say they raped her. They beat her and they robbed her. Let's say that. Ooh, I might get dinged for that word. They raped her. And so, but I don't think they raped her. It was just they beat and robbed her. And so when they did that, she told him not to do anything. But Negan, he be gone when somebody mess with people he loved. So he went looking for the guy, found the guy, and killed the guy. So that's why the sheriffs and them are looking for him. So that was one key little thing that they talked about in this episode. So that was the end of episode 3. I will probably do another. I may give the 4th episode a full review by itself. I'm not sure yet, but that probably won't be for another 2 weeks. Clearly, Superman and Lois, that was the season finale, so there'll be no more episodes of that until season 4 starts. So, the grand old Poppy Pop. So, episode 2 of Secret Invasion. Episode 2 of Secret Invasion. It starts off pretty good. It does a backstory to show you like kind of what happened, because one of my key things I didn't say in my last review about the first episode was how everybody kept saying they kept putting the responsibility to find them a home under Nick Fury. And so I had to go back and watch Captain Marvel, and I was like, no. What's the girl? Captain Marvel was supposed to find y'all guys a new planet. Not Nick Fury. He had nothing to do with that. So they give a date. I'm gonna tell you, I went through this whole thing. They give some dates in the beginning, and I'm like, hold on, that's 97. When did Captain Marvel take place? So I had to go back and watch that show, find out some more little tidbits to see, to just make sure everything was right. So Captain Marvel was in 95. The flashback was in 97, so it's 2 years later. Scrolls are now back on Earth. Nick Fury is asked Talos to contact some people who will want to help Earth. With just keep Earth safe. And so, like, apparently, when they went off with Captain Marvel, some stuff was happening. They went and they found one guy who had like his own little place, but he ended up getting decimated by. They ended up getting decimated by the Kree Empire. So they was basically dispersed again throughout the different universes. And so it was a lot of people who was on that ship. It wasn't just the main family of Talos and his people and a couple. It was actually a whole bunch of them. So we kind of get the earlier parts of the space station and why he has the scrolls working on the space station and stuff. But yeah, so you get the backstory. He says, look, I promise you, if you guys help me protect my world, I'll try to help you find another world, your world for you guys. So I'm like, oh, that's how they do it. And in my mind, I'm still thinking like, how is Nick Fury, a guy who just found out about aliens being on Earth, going to help aliens find another planet? We're going to skip past that point. So yeah, basically he tells him that, and at this moment, Gravik is the evil Skrull. He's a little boy. He shows up because he escaped from behind enemy lines and drove himself all the way to Earth. So they tell him he doesn't really talk, and they wanted him to talk. They wanted Fury to talk to him so he can inspire him. And Fury did not want to put him into the situation because he was a child. But then the lady Skrull, I think this is a secret I'll tell you guys later. She was basically telling him that he's good. He's smart, and he could be great help for the war or whatever. So, well, not the war, just to help out and protect the Earth. So he promises him that he will find a place for him. So that made him want to work with Fury. So this is why we get the whole situation in the beginning of the whole purpose of the first episode. So then now we go back where, if you haven't watched the first episode, this is a spoiler. They killed Maria Hill off. And you see it, and you see this person these people grab Fury and throw him in the back. You see this person grab Fury and throw him in the back of a truck. All while Gravity them is leaving, and the one that they left behind, who was dressed like an American, who had the American person on, got captured by police. Because that's how they was going to do it. They was going to he basically blew up all those people in that area, and said it was America. Basically, that was the whole point of it, the frame America. So yeah, he gets thrown in the back. Fury's like, what the hell? Then you see the guy get in, and he realizes it's Talos. So they escape. So this episode just had different twists and turns where you meet back up with the guy who they captured, and you find out a little bit more about about Gravik, and they show a lot of different details. So one of the first things they showed was the fact that the first bombshell. So once Nick Fury and Talos get away and they get on this train, and Talos is trying to talk to Nick Fury, and Nick Fury is like, it was something up his sleeve, but he wanted to make a joke because the simple fact of the whole running joke that was in the first episode of this black man running around in I want to say Russia, right? Wasn't it Russia? In Russia is weird already by itself, so it was already suspicious. It was sus. So like when he got on the thing and they knew he was a person of interest for the bombings, they said they saw him get on the train, and so Talos had dressed up as a woman, and then they asked him, did they see this man? She was like, a black man on this train. It'd be like, I forget what was the analogy he made. And everybody's like, start laughing, haha, you're right, you're right. And so then he goes back in, and that's when he turns back and he realizes him. So Nick Fury is like, yo, he tells a story about him, his mom, and like how they used to travel, and one of the games they played was about basically tell me something I already know, tell me something that I don't know about you. And so he was thinking to himself, let me tell her about me and this girl playing doctor in the back of the shed somewhere. And he thought about it, like, I can't tell her that. So he told her something else. So he ended up telling her, basically he lied. He lied about omission, basically. He tells the whole joke. And he uses that game to spark a conversation with Talos. And he says, what was this Great War about? Tell me something about the Great War I don't know. And he was like, you know everything. And he was like, tell me something I don't know. So then he basically saying how, like, so many of them, over 1 million, like I think over 1,000 or 1 million of them scattered through the galaxies away from the war or whatever. And then he was like, tell me about, what was it? Was it tell me about tell me about what happened after after y'all left and y'all came to Earth or whatever. And so he basically told him that when he called everybody, and he said, how many freaking scrolls did you bring to Earth? And he tells him all of them. And he's like, why did you bring all the scrolls here? He's like, Earthlings ain't ready. We're not prepared for another species to be on this planet. He's like, we barely get along with ourselves. What make you think we want to get along with it's not enough room for another species. And he was like, you were gone, and you was on the space station. You blipped away, and then you was on the space station when you came back. We didn't have nobody to rally behind, and so we decided to just keep bringing everybody in. He was like, bruh. He was like, there's too much stuff going on. This is stuff you should have told me. You just didn't want to tell me. So he was hostile about it. So he told Talos to get off the train. Like, this is where you leave. I can't trust you. Get off the fucking train. So he tells Talos to get off. Talos gets off because he's like, damn, I shouldn't have lied to my friend. He was the only one who I could trust. Blah 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 blah. So Nick Fury goes to meet up with Rhodey. Pause. Let me go back to the other revelation you find out. Oh, no. Yeah, he goes to Rhodey. Now, in my honest opinion, I want to be like everybody and say Rhodey is a Skrull. But, if you notice, in the first Iron Man with Terrence Howard was Rhodey, and even in the second, third, and I want to say it was one, and in Civil War, Rhodey was, I'm that guy. I am Army man. I am a company man through and through. He was always that guy when Iron Man was trying to do some wild stuff. Hey, bro, chill, fuck out. Don't do this, blah, 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 blah. He was always that guy. So for him to say the stuff he said to Nick Fury in this thing, was he basically, they try to have a whole correlation about, hey, we black. People are, with the skin color we got, we have to fight to get in places of power and stuff like that. And he was trying to make it, understandable. And Rhodey was like, look, I get it. Yes, we are. But this ain't what this is, Nick Fury. And so basically, he tells him all this stuff about how he's going against the grain. He can't go against the grain. And you need to do the stuff. And he's like, let me tell you about, like, Nick Fury was like, basically, let me tell you about what's going on. And he said, can you trust your Secret Service people? And he's like, yeah, I can trust them to take a bullet for me. And he was like, yeah, but can you trust them? Do you know, what if I told you it was a secret alien race that could transform to anybody they want to and just be living among you? You won't even know. He was like, yeah, okay, whatever sci-fi movie you watching, blah, 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 blah. And he was like, no, I'm serious. And so then he basically shows Nick Fury. He shows Nick Fury that Nick Fury basically tells him what's going on. And the dude, he's like he looked at him and Nick Fury was like, hold on. How long have you known about the Skrulls? And he's like, 15 years. I heard about it, at this one event. So Nick Fury was like, what in the hell? You knew too, motherfucker? Like he was just so mad. Like he couldn't trust. Like, so he's something like, look, man, help me out. We could do this stuff. We can get this stuff done. Like, why don't you call your friends? He's talking about the Avengers. He's like, I am not calling the Avengers in here to be fighting these Skrulls so they could get the DNA of them and turn it to them and make them murderers. He's like, I'm not doing that. And so he was like, oh, okay, well, I can't help you. Only thing I can do is fire you. And he basically fired Nick Fury. Nick Fury's like, you can't fire me. I'm Nick Fury. You cannot fire me. He's like, well, you got to go. And I got a plane waiting for you and all that stuff. He's like, you ain't finna take me nowhere. So security guy rolled up on him. Nick Fury kind of hemmed that dude up, broke his arm, took his gun. Like, all right, I see you don't want to help me. And he got on. He walked out. He was kind of pissed at the world or whatever. So, you know, that stuff happened. You go back and you find out Gravik's, Gravik's daughter. You find out about the guy who was, who they took in jail. Wow, really? Sorry, y'all. But yeah, they find the guy who they took in custody for, like, who was claiming he was American and he was the one who did the bombings and stuff. And so the lady, the secret agent that Nick Fury went to go see in the first episode, she shows up while these Russian guys is just beating the crap out of this guy, trying to get him to talk. And so she comes in because, you know, her clearance is way higher than these guys, and tells them to get out. I'm finna go ahead and I'm finna get this information, and I'm gonna show you how. And then she asks for the secret has to get out. So they showed her, and she's like, okay, cool. So she basically gives this guy, like, as she tell everybody to get out, she locks the door so nobody can get in. She tells this guy, hey, just tell me what you know. She's like, first of all, let me find out something. So she gets some clippers and she cut his finger off, and it turned into a scroll finger. So that's the first question out of the way. He's like, so what are y'all doing? And she gets the information she needs to get, basically saying that Gravity is making a weapon to make them stronger. So she's like, oh, okay, that's what y'all doing? So then she basically kills him. Well, I'm sorry. She gives him this serum that basically boils his blood inside his skin till he dies. He could die real fast. And so once he tells her everything, she gives him the antidote so he can stay alive. Kicks him over, goes into the trap door, and get away. All while she's doing this, Gravik and them is now showing up, and they're killing everybody to come in and get dude. So they kill him, and they break down the door. Nobody's in there. It's just him. They kill everybody, and they break down the door, and they just see him. So the lady's gone already. They pick him up and put him in the car. And so Gravik asks him, hey, yo, bro, did you tell him anything? He's like, no, I just lied to them. Blah, 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 blah. But while all this was happening, Taylor's daughter went out and tipped off the safe house to the government. So when they was driving back, the safe house, they realized the safe house was messed up. So Gravik was like, oh, well, it looks like nigga done told everybody what's going on. And so Gravik was like, well, okay, I guess we got to take care of him. So they drive him out to the woods, and they kill him. And you can see Taylor's daughter is like, oh, Lord, this is not what I've signed up for. And you can kind of see just everything. So before all that, she was following the guy who went in with Gravik to go save him. She's following him, and that's when she found the device that's supposed to make them powerful. I didn't think they was gonna move this fast, but it is a MCU TV show, so I guess if they couldn't give us everything we need, they could give more of the scroll lore that's in the comic books. So tell me why we get a device to make a super scroll. And so they show some of the specimens they got to make this super scroll. They show roots from Groot, and they tell you where it's from, what Groot is and all this stuff. They actually have a frost beast, and it was what everybody's assuming it's the beast from like one of I think it was the first Thor movie, or either the first or second Thor movie, where the end credit scene was a beast running around randomly in the city because he got left. And so that was they had Black Obsidian's hand from the fight at Wakanda when they cut his hand off. I was like, oh shoot, they got everything up in there. So they just saying how they get ready to try to make super scrolls or whatever. And so so that was that's another thing they found out. One more thing that happened prior to them going to get the guy who got captured was Gravit went to the council that he's now part of, and he basically tells them, look what I did. This is to better our people. Blah 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 blah. And he was kind of demanding like they all be a part of what's going on. So this one guy was like, "You messing up, man. You showing these people what's going on, and you killing all these people. This is not gonna make them want to keep us around." Blah 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 blah. He's like, "No, we're taking Earth." And so then he basically gets up. The guy gets up and try to go against him, and the security dude show him. I need to show him out. And he's like, no, he needs to sit down. He needs to see what's next. So basically, he convinced all the other people to make him like the general commander or whatever. And one person decided not to do that, so they decided to. She decided that she's not gonna be a part of it. So I thought right then and there she finna die, but he ended up letting her go. But see, I have a theory about that. I think they let her go. She knew that she was gonna call Talos, and Talos was probably gonna tell Nick Fury. Which at this point, what he didn't know is that Nick Fury was gonna be mad because he just found out what was going on. So all that stuff is going on. Gravit is now throwing his power around. He's now the high general, the main person who's going to do everything for the Skrulls in his Earth. And like I said, Nick Fury just found out that there's more Skrulls on Earth than he think it is, and they've been there for years. So he's like, "Oh Lord, what did he do?" And so he decides to say, "Screw it." He sneaks off and he finds this random car that I guess he had hidden somewhere, and gets in the car. I think he's in London somewhere, because they on the other side. They drive on the opposite side of the road. I didn't really pay attention to it, but yeah, he drives in London. He goes into this house, but when you get to that, like before he gets into the house, you see a Skrull cutting up vegetables. And you're like, "Oh Lord, what is this?" So then he comes in and he walks around the corner, and now you see the Skrull who's cutting the vegetables in half. Up. It was a black human, and you're like, "What the hell?" And she's like, "Hey, honey," and he was like, "Hey," and then she gives him this look. And he's like, "Oh, sorry," and then he goes, "I'm sorry, I'm wrong." He comes out with the ring in his hand, and he puts it on. So now I'm like, they're married, and then she's like, "I miss you, honey." He gives him a big kiss, and I'm like, Nick Fury married a Skrull? And that's how the episode ends. I'm like, mine is blown, bro. Mine is blown. I cannot believe Nick Fury is married to a Skrull. That is crazy, bro. I can't wait for next week's episode. But yeah, so I'm definitely gonna probably do a individual episode for Secret Invasion episode 3. I don't know what other shows I will probably do if I want to do a big roundup like this again, but we'll see. I'm new to the game, trying to learn some tricks. If you know some, put some down in the comments below. If you want to follow me, want to see what else I'm doing, games I'm playing, things I'm doing in my real life, you can follow me on all social media networks, DJ Fat Snacks, and then especially on YouTube with DJ Fat Snacks, Snack Bites and Reviews. Also DJ Fat Snacks YouTube, DJ Fat Snacks Gaming. That's also things you can find me on. Until next time, guys, I will see you later.